Now you can get the same uncompromising truth you've come to expect from the Final Call newspaper on all your connected devices. Subscribe to the Final Call Digital Edition today. Go to subscribe.finalcalldigital.com.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, we forever thank Allah for His coming to the black man and woman in the hells of North America, in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, raising in our midst the Messiah, the Christ, the eternal leader of the nation of Islam, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We thank them both for the Jesus in our midst, a light-giving son, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I greet my beloved brothers and sisters in the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum. Dearest classmates, today is June the 12th, 2020. This week was the final service for our brother George Floyd. And so we're burying our dead and the struggle continues. The pain persists, the stress level is high. Black and white America indeed is hell. But there is light at the end of the tunnel, and we must rejoice in that. I don't want you to take lightly the dramatic changes in the symbols of racism that are taking place, because to do so is to miss what is happening. This is a part of the unraveling of a great nation. Great does not automatically mean good. You should look it up. In addition to banning certain violent, homicidal police actions, including the chokehold, many local and state jurisdictions are doing away with, or they're openly defining in their presentation, the cultural and historical traditions in America which glorify slavery and black inferiority. That matters because stereotyping black people as buffoons, clowns, criminals, unintelligent, lazy, unclean, unattractive, etc., has been used to justify the gross mistreatment of us since we were brought here in chains. In fact, the Million Man March was inspired in part in the minister not only by his desire to carry out a long-standing expressed desire of his teacher to call 1 million men to Washington, D.C., but also to push back on the stereotypes in the 90s of young black males as gangbangers and rapists and thieves. To white America, I just simply would lift these words from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that are found in point number 9 of what the Muslims believe as we look at the desire suddenly of many to be our friend. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said these words: if the white people are truthful about their professed friendship toward the so-called Negro, they can prove it by dividing up America with her slaves. We do not believe that America will ever be able to furnish enough jobs for her own millions of unemployed, in addition to jobs for the 20 million black people as well. And of course, beloved, as I speak, there are approximately 45 to 50 million unemployed people in America, black and white, right now in 2020. Now, beyond white America's guilt, which is also coming to surface, is the complicity of some of our own people in extending America's ability to oppress us and deprive us of freedom, justice, and equality. Some of those speaking out now have stood in silence for years and even been opposed, while the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in the Nation of Islam took virtually all the heat for pointing out and exposing the wickedness of this country's policies and actions against us. When individuals such as NFL star quarterback Colin Kaepernick said, "No more will I ignore police brutality while I live in luxury," some of them ran and hid and even became the white man's mouthpiece in objecting to Colin Kaepernick's peaceful act of taking a knee during the racist pro-slavery Star-Spangled Banner that is played before NFL games. The brother was deprived of his livelihood, has not been able to get a position since 2016, and so now the NFL wants to apologize, but hasn't seen to it that our brother is hired by a team. And here come the talking heads from among our community to sing in the chorus. It is time for a purge. Scared people have to sit down. We know enough about the enemy to make an informed choice. We don't need people just sitting around and chronicling the wicked acts of Satan. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan already did that when it was a terrifying and dangerous thing to do. Now white America is beginning to confess somewhat, but she still has Donald Trump sitting in the Oval Office, and as long as he is there, she cannot be taken seriously. The supreme wisdom of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is seen in point number 5 of what the Muslims believe and what the Muslims want. He writes, and I quote, "We want every black man and woman to have the freedom to accept or reject being separated from the slave master's children and establish a land of their own." Some of us, after all of this, still cannot see us as independent, and that's okay. But many of us are done. The last thing Breonna Taylor's mother told her was to make sure she washed her hands. It is a mother's nature to annoy her children. We all do it with constant reminders because we want them to be safe. So Breonna's mother, knowing her child was an EMT, reminded her, wash your hands. But the coronavirus pales in comparison to the virus of racism and contempt and the authority that any white man has to take us out on a whim. So let us tonight get into this study and continue to prepare ourselves for the great and wonderful exodus in this short window of time that remains. This week, in the Law of God, Study Guide 16, we move forward with the section entitled Reference. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is giving us a deeper understanding of al-Sharia, the divine law. Now remember, now and in the coming months, there will be epic battles taking place over laws and interpretation of laws. The issue of the murder of our brother and the degrees of the charges against the perpetrator and those who were with him. The laws over vaccinations and the ability or inability of the U.S. government or the governments of individual states to impose their will on us. We are bound by Allah's law, and everything that we confront has to be measured to determine if a thing facilitates submission or if it facilitates opposition to the law of God. Now, I pray that we all were able to read Brother Minister Jabril Muhammad's article in the June 2nd digital edition of the Final Call newspaper entitled, quote, "Our study should lead our lives into universal order." And I'm going to live some of it now and then some of it next week. And this column, similar to the study guides themselves that we are going through, possesses the quality of being just stunning in its timeliness. And I quote from his column. He writes, "What is the best way to comprehend this whole thing that has happened in America, from the appearance of God to this moment, and what is in the immediate future? The best way to start or begin is by studying Minister Farrakhan." Then, after describing the minister as the best student of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he raises this question, quote, "Where would we be as a group or a nation if we had done better by the study guides of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, based on the September 1986 speech he made entitled Self-Improvement, the Basis for Community Development?" In the letter that introduced the study guides, he wrote, quote, "This speech, in my judgment, formally ushers in that which is the launching pad of a worldwide movement." I'm going to read that again. "This speech, in my judgment, formally ushers in that which is the launching pad of a worldwide movement." His words compel the question, what is that which? It is a group of people, dedicated students of the Word of God, who, under Minister Farrakhan's ministry, study his study guide material. Then they meet on Friday nights in their respective mosques, prisons, or wherever study sessions are conducted per his instructions. In essence, that constitutes the, quote, "launching pad of a worldwide movement." Wow, wow. You, beloved, you are the people he is describing. A people who are dedicated students of the Word of God under Minister Louis Farrakhan's ministry, using his study guide material. You study on your own and then meet on Friday nights wherever study sessions are conducted per his instructions. Now, this column was published in the Final Call newspaper in 2006. Here we are 14 years later, meeting at home on conference calls or with family members. Now, we have fallen behind a bit here at headquarters in our plans for you, but we will be sending out instructions this week on where you can go to get on video conferencing next Friday. So, okay, this has gone on long enough. May Allah bless us, beloved, with love and the light of understanding and a wonderful study session. Assalamu alaikum.
Now you can get the same uncompromising truth you've come to expect from the Final Call newspaper on all your connected devices. Subscribe